Hey y'all, and welcome to episode 31 of the UnseenStrands podcast, a crochet and fiber arts related podcast where I, your host Mo, am visually impaired and will be sharing with you strands of the rest of my life. I come to you from central Iowa, where I live with my 4 boys, my husband, our 2 cats, and our dog. And I'd like to start off by saying welcome to our 190 subscribers, as well as a hearty welcome to anyone who is just stopping by for the first time. Now, I will apologize up front. I do tend to ramble on like you're all my best friends, so I do apologize if I start going off on something like you've been here this whole time. And yeah, just don't be afraid to ask me something to clarify, because I have a tendency to kind of forget that some of you are first-timers and others of you have been here for the long haul, and yeah, I tend to repeat myself and stuff like that. But anyways, so off to today. My mother-in-law, I think, is coming today. She's coming today or tomorrow to cut boys' hair. And so again, we're on limited time because I'm not sure when she's going to show up. So we're going to start off with the things that I need to put away, because I don't want to have to get them out again, and then we'll get to the other things today, just so that I can put things away. And so if we don't get all the way through, the other things are things that are out anyways, like my current whips, so that, yeah, they're not an issue. But anyways, guys, let's get off to today's episode. First off, I want to apologize to Teresa. I don't know what I did. Well, I know what happened to your little love letter, which, as some of you may have seen in other podcasts, Teresa sent out a lot of little Valentines to people, which was a little pin back button and a Valentine card, and I had one. And I think the babies found it. Well, I know the littles happened to it, because there was a day between then and now, because I got it after Valentine's Day, but I don't think it was that long after. So I definitely had it the last time I podcasted, but I forgot to get it out. And so between then and now, the littles had gotten into my purse, and I know it was the littles because we also found a surprise little feminine woman's product on the floor, which, you know, was actually kind of funny, because I think it was the day that the big boys weren't here. And my husband's like, "Why is that on the floor?" And I'm like, I think somebody got into mommy's purse. So yeah, littles don't exactly understand that things. I'm just glad that it looked like the worst they did was just open things up and not actually play with things too much. But anyways, beyond that, another lovely gift I've gotten from a crochet friend is this lovely cake of yarn. Okay, I think this is the right way. I don't know, I don't remember what my husband said the yarn was, or the weight. See if, you probably can't read any of that, but isn't it pretty, guys? I want to say this is like a sport weight, because it's definitely not worsted, and it's thicker than my fingering, but it seemed like it was finer than my DK. But this will grow up to be something beautiful. I'm not sure what yet, but thank you, Miss Christina of Mother's Cow Crochet. That's our Swedish, right? Friend? Sweden? I think so. She sent a lot of podcasters a little, well, I guess friends. I guess they're not necessarily all podcasters. And then this next item, I will try not to cry for you guys. But I received this in the mail yesterday. I haven't checked with the person that sent this to make sure that it's okay to say their name, because, you know, with those other things, they're not like huge expensive items, and maybe this person didn't think that this was, but I have an idea of how much this cost, and so I don't want to just be broadcasting out there that this person was giving out gifts. Yeah, I received this in the mail yesterday. I know many of you saw. I'm sure that's what prompted this, even though it wasn't even mentioned in that video, because this would have been a couple back that I've mentioned my Ko-Fi page where I was looking for just little donations so eventually I could save up to buy one of these, because I would need, what, like 20 donations to buy one. So I'm going to have to find a new thing for Ko-Fi now, because I have my talking digital scale. So yeah, this was an amazing gift that I got in the mail, and I know this person knew that I was having a hard time, but see guys, Alpaca Julia is going to be our test subject.
0.8 ounce.
Now, that's great for doing things like Etsy mail, but this is even awesomer.
23 grams.
And that was what you tested out at, so it works, because it hasn't changed your weight, Miss Alpaca Julia.
0 grams.
But yes,
Goodbye.
this is going to be so extremely helpful, especially in just weighing out things to figure out if I have enough yarn to do things, or like my fiber, and I was getting Bev, I am sending your package soon. There was a thing that I wanted to do, and I think I'm just going to have to postpone it. It's something I can send in a letter sized envelope later on when I actually have it, but I haven't been able to get to it. I'll explain more in my little letter to you, but when I get to it I can send that in a letter size or just with a regular stamp. So I think I'm just going to get off the rest of it to you, but yeah, this makes even just sending out prizes that I can do by myself just so much easier, because I don't need the kids, I don't need my husband around, I'm independent, guys, super independent. So yeah, this was just such a special gift. So I want to thank the person that gave it to me, but like I said, I don't have permission to say their name, and I know that's not a cheap gift, and so I don't want to broadcast it, but you know who you are, and I really thank you, and hopefully I'll be talking to you soon. It is somebody who we Zoom chat with, so just a hint out there for you Zoomers. But yeah, not that I have to get that stuff away, but I do want to get that put up. Okay, sorry about that. I needed a drink, and tried to move things around so we don't make quite as much noise in this next part, because we're going to do our stash acquisitions really quick, except for I won't be able to tell you what a lot of this is other than where it's from. And some of it I can't even tell you that, because they're like locally farmy things. So as I mentioned in the last episode, we had Fiber Palooza coming up, which is a little fiber fair thing that what I call my LYS, or my local yarn store, which is actually a half an hour away and the furthest of my local yarn stores. But they put on this little festival thing, and this year we had expected that we were going to have all 4 boys, but it turned out we only had 2, because my dad went to pick up his dog from my brother on Friday, the night before the event, and my oldest is like, well, if Papa's stopping by, because my brother's house is halfway in between here and there, and he's like, if Papa's stopping by, can't he just take us with him and we can go spend spring break with our cousins? I'm like, well, I guess if he wants to take you, because of course we can't just sign up other people to watch our children, that'll work, which worked out really well for me, because then I got to go to Fiber Palooza without Jeremy, who is my not happy shopper and makes things like that really miserable. But anyways, so I got these, and what these are, and this is actually a person, this same booth, I probably will see, I know we saw them again at the Minnesota Shepherd's Harvest Festival. Last year I got pre-dyed yarn, that's kind of like a hand spun, but she does not personally spin that yarn, but she has it, I assume it comes from overseas, but she also sells the dyes to dye it, and so we got these to try. I know, as I recall, it's like a turquoise and a purple of some sort, because not only did we get those, but I have to put these up like special, and as soon as I actually stop recording this section, I'm going to go ahead and put this up, because acid dyes are not a thing we want the littles to get into, as my husband found out yesterday when Leo came out with super glue on his hand. And I'm like, where did you leave the super glue? Because and I don't even know when they did it, because I went to the computer to write down Becky's Zoom number so that I could get in on Saturday's Zoom chat possibly, and I turn around and Leo's crying because he's got something on his hands and he can't get it off, and it turns out it was super glue, but it's like really old crappy super glue, so I don't even think I saw it there later that same day. So it is pretty old and junky if if I didn't even see it later on, because I'm like, honey, that's not gonna come off. Speaking from experience of someone who's had super glue on their hands before. But yeah, yeah, that's got to go up high, because like, glue does not belong anywhere on their level, which it was on their level. It was technically put away. It's in this drawer by the stove that has just some kind of miscellaneous tools, so I get why it was there, but I would have never put it there. I mean, downstairs maybe? In like the storage part of the basement? Or like up in the high cupboards, but not there. Yeah, that's got to go away as soon as I'm done with this part. Anyways, so I got those because we got this. And what this is, my friends, and I won't be able to tell you where I got this from because they were a small, like, farm. So this is straight from somebody, probably from Iowa's farm. And this is mohair locks. And this is raw mohair flax, so it has been skirted, which means that they've taken care to get rid of the like matter from around the behind, as far as I understand it. But it has not been washed at all. So this is an entire pound of mohair locks, which mohair locks by themselves, they had mohair locks, it was 2 ounces that had been cleaned and fluffed, which whatever on the fluffing, but they had 2 ounces that have been cleaned and fluffed for the same price as these 1 pound uncleaned things. And I'm like, you know, I guess it's time to try out some mohair. So yeah, this is definitely dirty. So what I'll need to do, is they said wash it with hot water, and then, you know, you'll need to put some soap in it, and what she said was to like wash it and then like lay it out on a screen, and like you could set that outside so it could dry. And so what we have is a metal table, and so we think we'll probably try and do that, unless I do it in really small batches. See guys, it's like all stuck together still, and it's just sturdy. You know, they're animals, they're out in the wild. So yeah, that is my, now I can't get it back in the bag. I put it in this gallon bag. It came just in the paper sack. But I need to put this, again, away right away, because as I shared before, Sona got into my camel fiber before when it was just laying around my wheel, and she's never done it again, but we're not 100% that was, it seemed like it was clean. But for some reason she was attracted to that, so I don't want her to be attracted to this, which is why I put it in the plastic bag, and then I'm storing this in our bathroom under the sink, so that she has absolutely no way to get to it. So that again is something I need to get put away right away. And then my other fiber goodies from Fiberpalooza was from Yarn Geek Fibers, and I believe this is I Saw the Scions, or something like that. This is the color of fiber that, I believe this is a BFL, although I won't swear to that. This is the colorway that I did not get when we saw her at Iowa City, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to buy something from her. Although, I also got this, which I did not see. I don't know if she had these at Iowa City or not, but this is a DK weight yarn in an alpaca blend, and I don't remember the exact like weight or anything, or like fiber content, although I want to say it had alpaca and silk and wool in it. I don't remember, guys. If you can see it at all, there is the labels. Yeah, isn't this gorgeous? There was 2 different shades of this that I almost bought, but I'm like, this is fiber I want to encourage her to keep having. So, Sarah, if you're watching, because she's now my new best friend, or one of my new best friends in the fiber world, I love this stuff. I mean, I love anything with alpaca in it, so I saw this, and I'm like, ooh, I have to have it. So there's this purple one, and there was a blue one, and I got this one. So in July, or June, when we go to Iowa Sheep and Wool, because she said she would be there, I might have to get the blue one if she still has some. But yeah, I got 2 skeins of that. That was my Yarn Geek fibers. Then this was another smaller farm. Not sure if you can see that tag at all. But we got this, I believe, I want to say, is this a Cheviot or is this Shetland? It was something. It was a sheep breed. I remember that. But we got this, which I thought, oh, I should have brought that over. I thought this might pair really well with one of the other fibers that I got at either Iowa City or with, although that's more of a solid color, and I'd like to apply this against something that was multicolored, because I just think it would help make it pop, all the nice bright colors in something else. But of course it was orange, and many yarn dyers, I guess, don't like to do orange because they don't sell well, because people don't like to use them, and we like bright, nice, fun colors here. Especially, I like things that aren't pink. Even though I love pink, don't get me wrong, but I love to be able to make things for my family, and having a household of boys, you don't always get to use pink, or ever, unless it's something directly for me. So that was my fiber. So I can put that back away. And then I got another skein. This was another reason that we got those acid dyes, was I got this skein. This is 100% baby alpaca. This was from the same person that I got yarn from at the Sticks and String retreat that had alpacas. So I'm hoping, I was talking to her, and it turns out that all these fairs are at the wrong time of year, because she says they'll shear their alpacas fairly soon, here in the next few weeks, but then it'll take 3 to 4 months before they get their stuff back from the mills. And of course that's the time period when there are absolutely no shows for me to go to. So by the time this stuff all gets back around, it's like they've sold all their stock, because they've, you know, shorn the animals and don't have anything back. But I got this was the last skein of this white. So I was scared, because I'm afraid to dye this, but at the same time, don't you think it would be beautiful in blues and purple? So we'll have to see. Sorry, my sock yarn's getting stuck to it. We have that. And then my other yarns are all caked up already, because they do have a service at the event, and I made sure to get these caked up quickly because I knew they'd be a pain in the butt. What happened to your tag? Oh, that's what that tag was. The sock yarn. These are from our friend with the very colorful names for her yarns. So I don't remember. There might be some colorful language on these tags, so I'm not going to show them to you. But these are from A Whimsical Woods Yarn Co. And I got 2 different colors. These are both ones that my husband picked out. I know one of those is Dragon Venom, but of course I can't tell you which one. And then, where's the other bag? Told you, I tried to set things out so we would make less noise for you. And then I have 3. And this is all, Becky, that yarn that I was petting during the Zoom chat that one day. That was all the stash additions from this event. But yeah, I got this to make, I'm going to say like a shrug, because I don't know if there'd be enough here to make a top. But this is a fingering weight, and I just had to. And Samantha, I think, is the yarn dyer for that. Is that what it was? I can't remember. But the lady from A Whimsical Wood Yarn Co. actually gave us a discount. I'm like, oh, I'm buying 5 skeins of yarn. Will you give me a discount? And she's like, you know what? Sure. So that was pretty awesome, because I don't, you know, it wasn't a big discount, but every little bit helps when you're buying hand-dyed yarn. especially not cheap. Like these are over $30 a ball. Yeah, so that is expensive. And that, I believe, was everything we bought. Well, we bought the baby some more finger puppets because that shop was there again. And we also got my husband another pair of socks. I got my own pair of alpaca socks. That was really exciting because they had that same vendor there, and my husband was convinced that I needed it. Now, do I necessarily need it? Probably not. But he really loves his alpaca socks, so we'll probably continue to try and add to that when we see them. Yeah, so that was all my stash additions for the time being. So let's move on to mostly finished objects, I guess, because I haven't actually woven in ends to anything. Okay guys, ready? Are you ready for your eyes to be blown? Sam socks! Yes guys, they are, well, mostly finished, because as you can see, Mommy hasn't woven in ends, and the other ends are luckily on the inside, so you can't see them. But yes, we have Sam socks done. These are crocheted, you know, I don't know what the pattern was, because this used, jeez. I think I've said that more than once today. These used, is that better? The extended single crochet, and I just basically did the same basic toe as I usually do. The pattern that I used had the stitching for the extended single crochet, and then this is similar to the same heel that they said to use, although I kind of, you like leave a stitch on the end open, and then when you crochet up the sides you crochet back into that. So that's basically what I did for those, which is kind of like the heel flap and gusset that I did, but this is toe up instead of cuff down. And then I did the crochet for the body of the sock and the foot of the sock, and then the calf or cuff or whatever is done with knitted stitches. So what did I do, like 8? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 8. I want to say it was 8 rows. This yarn is the Rainbow Felici, which is the Knit Picks yarn, and then the heels, toes, and cuff are all done in Shamrock, which is a pineapple yarns. These were crocheted using 2.5 millimeter items. So this is a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook, and then this is a 2.5 millimeter needles. And as you saw, I used not only my, if you watch my weekly whips, I used not only a 9-inch circular. See, this isn't 9 inches wide, so it made it really problematic to use a 9-inch circular because it was just not 9 inches wide, so it was really hard to do like a magic loop. So we invented, or I guess it's probably not even invented, I'm sure it's been done before, but what we did is we had that, and then my husband got me a cheap Hobby Lobby pair of knitting needles, and we used that. And Renna, when I said that that was the only pair, I meant that that was like the only pair, like the only set on the thing, and it was like up in its own little corner, like there was a row that was all empty except for that one needle, and then there was rows and rows of other sizes of needles, but so he couldn't even compare the joins on that particular set to other sets of that same size, because he even noticed that that one side, and what it is one of the sides is super rough. So I figured out if I use the other side to be pushing the stitches over, it's not quite as painful as using the side that I was using on these socks for like all of it. But anyways, so yeah, we did that, and I did a 3x1 rib. Sorry guys, this is really rambly. And I tried doing the stretchy bind off, although my stretchy bind off, I mean, see guys, it stretches, but it's still like tight at the very top. I don't know if I'm just not doing it stretchy enough. I mean, this one's a little better, but it's like I'm doing the stretchy bind off, but there's still like some restriction. I don't know. I guess I'm probably just not good enough at binding off yet. But anyways, so that's my mostly finished object. So I can give those to Sam because I just need to weave in ends, but I wanted to show you before I gave it to him. And then I have this, which you also saw in a weekly whip, which is the Indian Corn Maiden or something dishcloth. This is a, I guess it would go this way. I don't know which way is front, which way is back. I know you can't really see the pattern in this. It did actually come out a little bit in the weekly whip, so I would encourage you to go and look at that. And I did show a picture of the pattern-like picture on my computer screen. So, yeah, that's the Corn Maiden. It said it was like based off of this style quilting block, and this is my low-cal project, so I need to get this cut off and wove in so that I can finish. I don't know what this colorway was. I thought it would be, I guess it doesn't really look that way. I thought it'd be a little less stripy. Maybe it would have been in crochet versus knit. So I thought it would be a little less stripy, but it wasn't. So I thought it would look a little more like Indian corn, because that's kind of what the idea of this pattern was Indian corn. And so that was for my locale, is that I'm in Iowa, where we have had Native Americans. I mean, there are still a couple reservations. My husband's land is probably at some point, you know, been inhabited by Native Americans, and well, I mean, most of Iowa would have been, but he thinks he's found a site on his property, and we've had a friend that's in archaeology that's kind of done a basic testing of things there, and said that it was probably like a hunting site or something, because he didn't find evidence that it would have been a homestead, but rather it was like a temporary campsite, most likely. Just kind of some interesting things. But yeah, since I have and my father-in-law has grown Indian corn on his property, so I thought that was very fitting for my locale item. Now we'll move on to whips. Oh, and that was done in like a sugars and cream or peaches and cream. I'm sure I got this yarn on clearance, because I don't usually buy the more than one tone, just because they're harder to do projects for me out of. So I'm sure that was a clearance yarn. I want to say it was on a size 6 knitting needle, although I can't promise that, but I think that's what it was. So yeah, then we'll go ahead and move on to whips, and maybe we'll get through this, guys. Now for the final section, or at least kind of final, because then we'll have the closing notes, for our works in progress. In our bag from Miss Crochet Cakes, we have our Pussy Hat Cat project. This is for the Wool Needles Hands group that does her monthly hat challenge, and this was to do an unconventional style hat, so not a bottom up or top down basic beanie is kind of what I took it as. So this is knitted as a rectangle and then sewn up the sides to make your cat ears. So basically, I'm getting close. I think I'm on row 18, maybe 19 of 24, and then I'll cast off and sew up. This is actually going to be a gift for a friend. I have already shown her this yarn. This is a stranded Dye Works colorway. This is her Tits Off Collective, and the Bras Off the Clock. And I showed this to my friend and asked her what she wanted me to make. I bought this specifically for her because she's a very liberal person that is very into political matters, and that was the reason I had bought this particular yarn for her, was because I thought she would highly like the idea that my money went towards women's charity in support of making her something. So I let her pick out. She said she wanted a Pussy Hat project hat, and even though I think all the ones she has now, she has does have other ones. I think they're all crocheted though, because the normal hat is a crocheted hat. But since I'm not knitting, I'm not crocheting for Lent, I knew it had to be knit, and when I saw that come up in my list of patterns that I had that were not a typical construction, I was like, that's it, I'm going to make her hat so I can get two birds with one stone. I can finally give her her gift, and then I can check off that box for the hat along, or so yeah, this is I think she has it listed as an Aran weight yarn, so it would be very comparable to like your Red Hearts and that kind of thing, but I think it's turning out pretty. Pussy Hat project is not a thing that don't get me wrong, I'm totally for women's rights, but I'm a little not in your face about it, I guess, and I think this is a little overboard for me, but I don't have a problem with other people wanting to speak out about it, so even though it's not something I would do myself, I will do it for my friends. And these are using, I believe it was a size 8 tip on those. Sorry, I've got the measuring tape in that project because I needed to finish that off at a certain size. And then I have my shawl that I am working for the I'll Be There For You Cal. This is in the Pen, Hook, and Needles podcast. And of course I stopped in the middle of a row on this. There's like over 200-ish stitches already. And I'm not even, through all my color repeats yet. So, yeah, sometimes we just stop in the middle. And this for Dana is my pair of pants. I haven't worked on this super hard, so it isn't as far as it should be. I worked on the Pussy Hat project hat on the car on the way to pick up the boys from their grandpa's house. So that's pretty much all I did that entire car ride. So that's why that got so much progress done on it. So this, even though I brought it, didn't get worked on very hard because I got addicted to the feel of that other yarn. And this is a Lion Brand mandala cake. So yeah, I still have quite a bit of that to go, and that cal ends at the end of the month. So I'm hoping that I can get to that. Oh, and this podcast is actually going to be delayed. So even though I'm recording on Tuesday, I'm not going to get this up till after the weekend probably. So tomorrow's weekly whip, you will probably see one of these projects in further. Oh, but that's in my Quirky Craft Cast, in one of Kalisha's bags, which I got from Rel of the Dabbling Hook. Then my final knitting whip / knitting crochet. Oh, and all these knitting crochet sock projects I get to put in the Mind and Use, something like that. I never can remember what it actually says because it's really hard to hear on the screen reader, but it's Crochet Cakes, so Clarissa Best Mom's podcast. She's doing a craft along where she encourages you to use multiple types of projects, so knitting and crochet, or like dyeing and knitting, or dyeing and crocheting, spinning and knitting or crocheting, sewing and doing one of those, just something that's using multiple crafts in the same project. So on these socks and Sam socks, I've been using knitting and crochet in the same thing. And at some point, I hopefully will get to, well, I don't remember. Depends on when her cal ends. I don't remember when it ends because it needs to go past Easter for me to put my sweater project in there, because I can spin, but I can't work on it because I'm crocheting that. So I can't work on that until after Easter. But these are my socks in progress. This one is further. Yeah, this is the further one, so we'll show you that one. I have this one on the 9-inch circular, which is much easier to do when the circumference is actually wide enough. But since I had 2 needles, I decided, and I can put it on without taking it off the needles if I use my other not as great needle. So yeah, I have it on both. I think I'm on row 8 of my ribbing on this. I have 10 rows on this one, and we'll kind of see where we're at and see if it comes up high enough or if I want to continue onward. I was trying to use up as much of the yarn as I could, but I have this much left, and that would make quite a sock. And I will remind you that this is a crocheted sock for up to here, up to where my fingers are, is crocheted. So this is 100 grams. This is the Aloha colorway, which was a Stroll something or other Knit Picks yarn. Stroll has many different lines of coloring, so I don't know if it was gradient, hand paint, whatever. But yeah, that still is going to go up quite a bit. Let's see, Mr. Scale, how much of our yarn do we have left? See guys, this is where this comes really super handy and fun, because I don't have to have the kids here. Because I'd have to wait for them to get here, and then I'd have to get them in the right mood to actually do this. But we have
49 grams.
This is still almost half an entire ball. It said 49 if you didn't hear it, because I was talking over it. So yeah.
0 grams. Goodbye.
I still have half a thing, and I'm pretty much done. So yeah, that was super exciting. Yeah, and Sam socks. I think I weighed them earlier, and they're 51 grams or something like that. And that's with the other colorway thing in it. So, you know, I could maybe, especially if I use another heel and toe color or something, or just even substituting one of those, I could definitely just use one ball of Felici to make socks. Because even though this Stroll is nice, I do think I like the Felici better. I think it'll just kind of depend on the colors. Because from watching Cam Knits, I know that the main difference between the Felici and the Stroll yarn is that they're spun in different countries even, not even just different facilities or mills or whatever. But this, I think she said, came from Peru, I want to say, and the Felici does come from Italy. I want to say. I'm not going to promise you that, but I think that's what Cam Knit said. So I think this one just isn't quite as strong. It seems like it's just slightly more splitty than the Felici was. So anyways, yeah, so that is my socks. And again, these were done with the 2.5 millimeters. This, that, and the other thing. And did we get through everything? I think so, guys. Okay, guys, I think we made it through everything. Sorry, I had a little coughing fit there. I had to stop for a second. Just a reminder, we do have our couple of cows going on. We have the 2019 Podcaster Craft Together, which is its own group. So you need to be a part of the Unseen Strands group as well as that group. Well, I guess you don't technically have to be a member of the Unseen Strands group, although I'd highly suggest that you be a member of our group and that group. That runs all year, and basically all you need to do is make something. And for yarn projects, it does have a requirement of 10 yards or under, but it does, or over, sorry. But you can do other crafts, so, you know, that's kind of a loose line there. But for other crafts, you do need to post like a before and after picture, just so we can actually track that you are doing things. There is chatter over in that team, as well as in the Unseen Strands podcast group. We do have our general chat has been turned into the Podcaster Craft Together chat. And you will find a link to the other group in that conversation or thread, title, bar, or whatever. It has a description, so it'll show up on every page. So it doesn't matter where you are in the chat, it should show up, I believe, unless I screwed something up a while ago. We also have the New Year, New You, which does run for about another month. We're getting close to the end of that one. You have a bag prize that I have gotten from the Silver Shed for that, and currently that's the only official prize that I have. But if you'd like to donate anything, I am more than happy to accept other prizes. But yeah, that is for any new yarn to you or newly published patterns in the Unseen Strands Ravelry group only. We also run this cal along with Ella of No Catchy Name, and hers is over in her Facebook group in the No Catchy Name Crochet Talk, there we go, Facebook group, and she is just new to you yarns. So yeah, anything you finished that you've used newly acquired things for, go ahead and post in both places. And then if it's also used a new pattern, feel free to post in the Unseen Strands group, even if you can't post it in Ella's group. And that wraps up on Earth Day. And I think that's it. If you want to follow along with me on social media, even though I'm bad at updating, I have actually started updating a little more often on Instagram as of like 2 days ago. So good luck on that lasting much longer. But we are, the places you can find us and what we are where is listed in the description box below, as well as the kids have their own Etsy shop where mostly Jeremy is trying to make money to pay for his French horn. He is getting there, guys. He was, I think after his last orders he did, he has $87 to go, and his French horn was $350. So he has made it quite a ways. Now granted, I think 100 of that was straight from his grandpa, and another 40 of that was other gifts from Christmas. Or was it? No, it was 100 was from his papa or my dad, and then 40 of it was already from Etsy stuff. Did he have more? I don't remember. I have what he owes still and what he has to pay his uncle written down in his Etsy shop so that I don't forget. But yeah, he was down to, I think, $87, which is amazing because he got that the end of November, which he actually received it in December, I think. Did he get it at Christmas? I think he got it before. Maybe he got it on my brother's way up to my mom's for Christmas. But yeah, so he's been only working on that for a couple months, and he's getting there. He's getting real close. But their Etsy shop is paper cut goods, so things that you make with little handheld paper punches, or we do have a die cut machine. So there's a couple things that my husband does that basically funds the expenses of the punches because punches aren't cheap and they do wear out. Like, we need to replace one, although I'm not sure if we're going to replace it or just get rid of that punch. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. If you would like to donate to the podcast and don't want to just send over random awesome gifts, because that was what our Ko-Fi was for, I do have another expensive item that would be super helpful, which is like a kind of like a QR code system with a talking scanner, but it was more expensive than that scale, so I did the scale first, and we'll do that other thing now that we have our scale. But to donate to us directly, you can go over to Ko-Fi, which is ko-fi.com/UnseenStrands, and you will see our page. And what that is they call it buying a coffee, like you were taking us out to the coffee shop, but you aren't. So basically that price of a cup of coffee just goes into our PayPal account, which then we can use for things like awesome gifts that make my life a little easier. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unseen Strands podcast, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you would hook the like button and subscribe. Talk to you later, guys.